People feel threatened by hip-hop's latest rising stars because we don't have the language to explain how all these different artists are hip-hop artists. A rock band can be anything from alternative to punk to pop rock. An artist who sings love songs over blues or jazz-type drum beats can be an R&B artist, funk artist, soul artist, or even a neo-soul artist, among other things. But if you don't quite sing, have end rhymes, and deliver them over an instrumental heavy on drums and bass, then you're just a rapper. Lil Nas X, rapper. Lil Uzi Vert, rapper. Post Malone, rapper. Kanye West, rapper. But none of these artists I just mentioned are similar enough to be considered the same kind of artist. The musical themes, image, and sound are different enough to command these three separate categories. This sentiment was shared by a surprisingly level-headed Cassidy, an artist passionate about bars, in a DJ Vlad interview in August 2016. Putting labels on things can be complicated, but how else do you identify difference? Hate new hip-hop artists all you want, but their ties to the genre definitely exist. Your energy would be better spent understanding their place in it rather than dismissing them. DJ Booth made the argument that Lil Uzi Vert can't define himself as a rock star because the hip-hop platform is what created him as an artist. Hip-hop fans, not rock fans, listen to Lil Uzi Vert. Hip-hop stations and blogs interview him, not NME or Rolling Stone. Therefore, he can't duck the label of being a rapper. Those points make sense initially, but this phenomenon isn't as black and white as it seems. Sure, it is weak that he used his Rockstar label to avoid freestyling on a DJ Premier beat during a Hot 97 visit, but that situation isn't a base stable enough. What concerns me about DJ Booth's conclusion is its core belief. An artist's platform, like fans, media, external classification, and not the artist's brand, makes an artist what they are, and I don't buy it. Arguing about classification is pointless if we don't agree on what existing terms really mean. The core question is not, what do we call new age hip hop artists? The real question is, what is a rapper? We need to make sense of our existing language before we try to shove it onto our new reality. And we definitely can't use new terms if we don't understand the old ones. How does the hip hop community come to a consensus of what is and isn't capable of being called rap? In terms of culture, the four original pillars of hip-hop have been seriously challenged. Graffiti is not essential to today's hip-hop fans, breakdancing has been replaced by a revolving door of dance moves, and with so much technology at our disposal, the DJ-MC dynamic has been greatly altered. It seems like the idea of a vocalist being the master of ceremonies and a producer being DJ-esque is still intact at its core. In the same way Rakim and Eric B, or Guru and DJ Premier worked as a unit, many popular hip-hop acts still have a right-hand man they call on to make their best work. Drake and 40, Future and Metro Boomin, and Young Thug and London on the Track are great examples. Though production and vocal performance in hip-hop is significantly different, the DJ-MC dynamic is still unique to hip-hop, both in recording and live performance. Even in the case of hip-hop artists who don't have a one go-to producer, it seems fair to consider artists who use this arrangement as hip-hop artists. With that being said, the term rapper is trickier. Whereas hip-hop artist captures a diversity, how do we identify rappers and non-rappers? When does the use of melody in a hip-hop song become melody-driven, as DJ Booth described Lil Uzi Vert? When does vocal delivery go from rapping to singing? These are difficult questions, perhaps more appropriate for someone with a background in recording arts and music theory, but listeners, including me, do have an intuitive sense about these things. Here's my attempt at a rule of thumb, putting my intuition into words. A vocal performance with a primary focus on melody and voice manipulation via production technology is not a rap performance. Here's what I'm trying to say in simpler terms. If people think a verse is hot mainly because of its sing-song appeal and not the lyrical content, it's not a rap verse. Here's an example. Lil Uzi's verses on the song Top were not rap verses. And on the other hand, a vocal performance with a primary focus on lyrical technique, in this example rhyme, narrative, metaphor, and all the shit you learned in English class, is a rap performance. And in simpler terms, what I'm saying is, if people think a verse is hot mainly because of how the words were put together or what is being said, that's a rap verse. And an example of that is Drum's verse on the song Broccoli. Okay, so let's expand based on that. If an artist is considered quality mainly for their sing-along appeal, the term rapper isn't the most accurate. Until a more accurate and respectful term is created, unlike mumble rapper, the term hip-hop artist should be able to encompass them. Notice, I emphasize the word mainly. When you think about rap in the terms I laid out, it becomes difficult to apply to many of today's hip-hop artists. Was Future mainly rapping, singing, or melodizing on Coding Crazy? What do we call Lil Yachty's verse on Broccoli? It has become obvious that great lyricists can make use of voice manipulation and melody, and that melody-driven hip-hop artists sometimes pay attention to the lyrical quality. Since all hip-hop artists employ some level of both melody and wordplay, we have to differentiate based on the balance of these two aspects. So whereas Drake is today's standard for the blurred line between rapping and singing, he still has very clear moments in his music when the musicality is coming from his rhyming ability, not his melody. In this case, Western Road flows, and his switch up on Used to This. Whereas Kendrick Lamar is traditional and hip-hop's golden child in today's game, he also has clear instances where his verses are driven by melody. For example, his feature on Sidewalks. Getting our heads around this issue is a lot of work, but hip-hop's sound has grown into the mainstream much quicker than anyone could have anticipated. Instead of its constituents fighting over whose version of hip-hop is truer, wouldn't subgenres help everyone acknowledge the beginnings and evolutions of a genre? Allowing for branches to grow instead of fighting to keep things at the root makes for a more beautiful tree. Collectively, hip-hop needs to frame the relationship between old and new responsibly. This has been a Hip Hop Madness original. Make sure to stay tuned and stay up to date with everything we got going on by hitting that subscribe button and notification bell. Oh, and don't forget to follow us on Instagram at Hip Hop Madness and join the movement.